The rain was pouring hard outside the small children's hospital in Toronto. Cars rushed past, people hurried under umbrellas, but near the hospital entrance a desperate voice cut through the noise. "Please, someone help me. Please save my daughter." Most people walked past, avoiding eye contact. Some slowed down for a moment, but no one stopped. Except one man. Daniel Carter stepped out of a black car parked near the curb. Few people recognized him in that moment, but in Canada his name was known everywhere. He was a billionaire tech entrepreneur, the founder of a company that had changed the way millions of people worked online. His time was worth thousands of dollars per minute. But something in that woman's voice made him stop. She was standing near the hospital door, soaked in the rain. Her coat was thin, her hands shaking as she held a small girl wrapped in a worn blanket. The child looked pale and weak, barely conscious. "Please," the woman begged anyone who would listen. "They won't treat her without payment. I don't have it. She's my only daughter." Daniel slowly walked closer. "What happened?" he asked quietly. The woman looked up, surprised that someone had finally stopped. "My name is Maria," she said through tears. "My daughter Lily, she's very sick. She has a heart condition. The doctor said she needs surgery soon or she won't survive." Daniel looked at the child. Lily's breathing was shallow. Her small fingers barely moved. "Why won't the hospital help?" Daniel asked. "They said the surgery is expensive," Maria whispered. "I already sold everything I had. I worked 2 jobs, but it's not enough. They said without a deposit, they can't schedule the operation." Daniel was silent for a moment. He had seen business crises, market crashes, and corporate battles. But nothing felt as heavy as the fear in a mother's eyes. "How much is the surgery?" he asked. $70,000, Maria said, almost ashamed to say the number. To Daniel, it was the cost of a watch. But to Maria, it was an impossible mountain. Daniel looked at the hospital entrance. People continued to walk past them as if nothing was happening. He then looked back at the child. "What's her name again?" he asked softly. "Lily." Daniel nodded once. "Come with me," he said. Maria hesitated. I don't understand." "Trust me," Daniel replied. Inside the hospital, Daniel walked straight to the front desk. The receptionist began speaking politely. "Sir, how can I want the best cardiology surgeon available for this child immediately," Daniel said calmly. "Sir, the process requires." Daniel placed his phone on the desk and dialed a number. Within seconds, the hospital director answered. "Daniel, what a surprise. Is everything all right?" Daniel looked at Maria and Lily. "No," he said, "but it will be." 10 minutes later, the entire tone of the hospital changed. Doctors arrived quickly. Nurses rushed Lily into an examination room. Tests began immediately. Maria stood in the hallway shaking, not fully understanding what had just happened. Finally she turned to Daniel. "Why are you helping us?" she asked. Daniel didn't answer right away. He simply watched the hospital doors where Lily had been taken. Then he spoke quietly. "When I was 8 years old," he said, "my mother stood in a hospital very much like this. My father had already passed away. We had nothing." Maria listened closely. "I had a serious illness," Daniel continued. "My mother begged the hospital for help. Just like you did today." He paused. "A stranger paid for my treatment. We never even learned his name." Maria covered her mouth as tears fell again. "That man saved my life," Daniel said softly. "Everything I built, every company, every success. None of it would exist without that moment." He looked at her with a gentle smile. "So today, I'm just returning the favor." Hours passed. The surgery began late that evening. Maria sat in the waiting room, her hands tightly clasped. Daniel stayed there too, even though he had meetings scheduled, flights planned, and 100 urgent messages on his phone. None of them mattered right now. Finally, after several long hours, the surgeon walked out. Maria jumped to her feet. "Doctor." The surgeon smiled. "The surgery was successful. Your daughter is going to be okay." Maria collapsed into tears of relief. She hugged Daniel without thinking. "You saved her," she cried. "You saved my little girl." Daniel shook his head gently. "No," he said, "you did. You refused to give up on her." The next morning, sunlight filled Lily's hospital room. She was awake now, weak but smiling. Daniel stepped inside quietly. "Hi there," he said. Lily looked at him curiously. Mom said you're the hero. Daniel chuckled. No, he replied softly. Your mom is the hero. Lily thought for a moment and then held out her tiny hand. Thank you for helping me stay alive. Daniel shook her hand gently. In that moment, the billionaire who owned companies worth billions felt something far more valuable than money. Purpose. Before leaving, Daniel spoke to the hospital director again. No child should ever be turned away because of money, he said. Within months, Daniel created a foundation that funded life-saving surgeries for children across Canada. Hundreds of families who once felt hopeless suddenly had a second chance. And it all started with one rainy night, and a mother who refused to stop begging for her child's life. Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can echo through hundreds of lives. And sometimes, the person who changes the world is simply the one who stops walking and chooses to listen.